Cinco de Mayo, nigga. Yeah, nigga. Cinco de Mayo. We in Domain, nigga. Domain. DK, nigga. Legend. Yeah. Happy Cinco de Mayo. Dame. Let's go, papi. Let's get it. Jump. Let's go, baby. Yes. Hey. What? Let's go.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Seen Beyond and Through with Monty. So what you seen there was some black folks, what they thought was a celebration. And it was a celebration of Cinco de Mayo. Now, there's some thoughts in which I want to bring to this here, because I can tell you that through the celebratory means that people are doing, that people are not thinking. And what if I told you that that celebration with the sombreros, hopefully I said that right, is just as offensive as this right here, as this. Now, as you know, this is blackface. But when I researched the topic of sombreros, Cinco de Mayo, culture, history, as it pertains to Mexicans, I found out that cultural appropriation is very racist. And we are going to get into this. What people need to understand is that you cannot take someone's culture, and there's certain things that you cannot appropriate and have fun with. And let's get into Cinco de Mayo, or de Mayo, because it just passed a day ago. This is a video that came about in various ways in which I had planned on doing. And I had to research this. And there's certain things about it that I knew of way back when that, came to mind as I was researching this topic. But let's read this. Cinco de Mayo, or the 5th of May, is a holiday that celebrates the date of the Mexican Army's May 5, 1862 victory over the French at the Battle of Publa during the French-Mexican War. The day, which falls on Wednesday, May 5th in 2021, is also known as the Battle of Publa Day. So at the top right there, you see Mexicans who are celebrating the holiday as they should. Other people, I'm not so sure they should, because it can become very troublesome and very problematic. 9 reasons celebrating Cinco de Mayo in the U.S. is the worst. Number 1, you have people who are not of Mexican descent wearing a sombrero. But let's read on. Many in the U.S. use Cinco de Mayo as an excuse to guzzle their fave Mexican alcoholic beverages. But Mexican people don't really celebrate the day. It's just not the Mexican version of the 4th of July. The Mexican food Americans eat is hardly authentic, and the sombreros are racist. So number 1, we are using a war, our battle, where people lost their lives to as an excuse to get drunk, as an excuse to have inauthentic Mexican food that could be an insult to some people. And I can see that, where you're having some type of, let's say, dry soul food that you're calling soul food that's not really soul food. I can understand what some Mexicans will be talking about. And the sombreros are racist. Okay, we're going to get into this here. Okay, this year, millions of Americans will spill out of their favorite Mexican bars and restaurants after consuming as many margaritas as humanly possible in honor of Cinco de Mayo. But other than using this day as an excuse to guzzle their favorite Mexican alcoholic beverages, most people have no idea what they are celebrating. In fact, if they knew the real history of Cinco de Mayo and how little Mexican people actually celebrate it, they might think twice before taking that shot. Keep reading to find out how May 5 became synonymous with tacos and tequila and why. Its history isn't the happiest, which makes the American celebration seem out of touch. The Battle of Publa was instigated by France, which was picking a fight with Mexico over unpaid debts. Back in 1861, the struggling Mexican government was forced to default on a loan payment to France. As a result, France decided to invade the country and establish a monarchy. On their way over to Mexico City, the French troops were stopped by Mexican forces in the town of Publa. On May 5th, 1862, the Mexican army, led by General Ignacio Zagarzo, defeated the French forces led by Napoleon III. Though Mexico declared a victory at the Battle of Publa, on May 5th, the French went on to win the Franco-Mexican War and occupied the area for the next 5 years until Austrian Archduke Ferdinand Maximilian was overthrown as emperor. Okay, so here's the thing right there. I'm going to focus on us as black people, possibly be participating in a racist holiday that is made disrespectful by the Americans as a reason to drink, as a reason to eat shitty Mexican food that's not really authentic, as a reason to get drunk. We need to be very mindful of what we are doing. And for black people, let me just say this. Maybe we should stick this one out. Maybe we should just mind our own business and not be participating in something that the vast majority of Mexicans in Mexico do not even do. Maybe we need to pay attention to scholars who say things and tell us that wearing sombreros is cultural appropriation. It's a form of racism. It's nothing but a form of blackface. We can't have it both ways. We can't get offended when people wear blackface for us or don certain African garbs and call that cultural appropriation and call that racist. But yet we're turning around participating in something that we need to think twice about. Something that's turned into nothing but a drunken day. These are real people who lost their lives, who had families. Why can't we honor them with a day of prayer instead of a day of alcohol? A day of our head bowed down. A day of sending good thoughts and memories to their families and relatives who live on. It seems to me that we are doing it all the wrong way. We are participating in nothing more than an excuse to sell beverages. It's just a commercial so-called holiday at the moment. I wouldn't call it a holiday per se. It's not an official holiday, but it's very commercialized. And it has nothing to do with the respect of the Mexican army or forces who lost people there. It has everything to do with the commercialization of alcohol and an excuse to have a good time, an excuse to get drunk, to eat an authentic Mexican food. And let me just show you how disrespectful America has made this particular event. Happy Cinco de Mayo. Boy, some people really know how to really turn this up and turn it out in a completely different way. Cinco de Drunko. Exactly. Unfortunately, this is what it's used for in America, as it means to just buy alcohol to get drunk. There's no celebration with that. It really isn't. Now let me go farther. Here we are right here. Look at the bottom of that. Happy Cinco Momo, everyone. Animals. Animals are dressed, I guess, in supposedly an animal sombrero. Is it colors right there? Are these colors indicative to what Cinco de Mayo, I guess, the color scheme in which they would use? I have seen bright colors on certain, I guess, Mexican plays in which they are celebrating this. But look at this right here. We have cats right here. We have dogs right there with the sombrero. Right there. See that? Let me go. Here goes a dog right there. Appears to be, oh, this is a white female with a dog. Happy Cinco de Mayo. Right there. Here we go with a pig. Do people not see how disrespectful this is? Imagine these animals right here with an Afro wig on. Happy Kwanzaa. Happy Black History Month, people. Do you not see that? Let's go right here. Here he goes. I might not be Mexican, but look at this right there. Look at this right there. I may not be Mexican, but look at, what is this, a burrito? A taco that's stuffed to the gills? This is all part of the commercialization. This really truly has nothing to do with respect or celebrating anything, to be honest with you. It's just that people have commercialized a holiday and found a way to be very disrespectful towards a culture and people. And we can let them do that, but we as Black people should not be participating in this particular event. Look at this. There he goes, celebrated Cinco de Mayo. Here it goes right there, a reason to get drunk. Here we go as Black people. We're wearing a sombrero, but we have no idea as to how racist this really is. We think that we're having a good time. But what you have to be aware of and respectful of when it comes to people's culture, their identity, and when it comes to their history, you cannot use it as a prop. You cannot use our Blackness, our hair, our culture and history as a prop. If we would get offended at that, at people doing blackface, why are we doing this? But I understand why we're doing this. It's because this is the first video about this, about Black people who are participating and being very disrespectful. However, they are unaware of it. This is ignorance. Here he goes right there. See the hashtag Cinco de Mayo? They're out there. They have no idea as to what they're celebrating. We as Black people are celebrating something that we don't really have a clue about. It's just time to have a good time. Okay, Cinco de Mayo is not a Mexican 4th of July, but many Americans don't know that. Keep reading to find out how May 5th became synonymous with tacos, tequila, and why it's just plain annoying in the U.S. People, let me just tell you one thing. Black people particularly. What I get very offended by non-Black people is that when Black people are talking about racism and what is racist, when they don't listen. When Black people are talking about racism, others just need to shut up and listen. So black people, what they are saying here, what people are writing here, we need to just shut up and listen and pay attention. And with this information, we need to sit out Cinco de Mayo and not participate in this. If they don't do it in Mexico, if it's not a big idea, why are we participating in it? Here we go right here with a dog. The whole thing about, see that right there? Very offensive. Imagine if this dog, someone put it on an African wig, as I mentioned before. Happy Kwanzaa. Happy Black History Month. Happy King Day. Imagine how offensive that would be. A pig with an afro? A cat with an afro? Imagine if we dressed them up in African garb. That's trivializing someone's history and their culture. And that is very offensive. African tradition right there. Imagine if we just set that as a prop on that, or set it down, even have an animal sitting on that. Do we not see how offensive and disrespectful this is? So black people with this, we just need to mind our own business and have something else to celebrate about. Have something else to drink to eat tacos to, burritos to. But leave this holiday alone. It does not belong to you. You cannot switch anything around and make it for good, any more than any white person or non-black person can switch African culture, tradition, or Black American cultural traditions around and make it for good. The best thing that they can do is to just leave it alone. Sit it out. It's bad energy that you're putting towards that. It really is. It's wasted energy. I have been, speaking of Cinco de Mayo, I have been leery of the holiday because it has not always been as big as it is right now. I'm seeing more and more black people with hashtags are posting things on Cinco de Mayo, happy celebration. It seems like it gets bigger each year. But going back to Cinco de Mayo about me, I've been very leery about it. When I heard Mexican people say back in the early 2000s, it's just an excuse for Americans to commercialize the holiday, an excuse to get drunk. So that's the reason why I never got into it. That always stuck in the back of my mind. And it was never a big holiday back in the 90s, the 80s, the 70s, so forth. It was never really celebrated. Denial of racism is racism. You can deny this all you want. You can pretend all you want. You can be deaf and dumb all you want towards this and go on with the celebration. But it is not going to change the fact that it is racist and very disrespectful. This is a Mexican tradition. It is something that they need to decide on what they need to do with it. All other people need to just sit this out. This is respect of culture right here. He looks to be Mexican American or Mexican. He's graduating. He's repping the flag, the Mexican flag. This is how you respect culture there. You allow those who are part of the culture to respect their culture. If you don't know the history of their culture, the history of certain events, what they were fought for, what they were fought over, how the people of that particular land feel about the events of today, then we need to just sit this one out. And black people, this is something. This is truly something that we need to just mind our own business. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, that is another edition of Seeing Beyond and Through with Monty, and I will see you beyond and through.